Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. And now for something completely different. It's in the grow room, but it's not orchids. No, it's not even orchid related. You'll see what it is. It's a tidy up of my Sarracenias, simply because they should live in sun. They should get full sun. When they get full sun, they grow stocky and sturdy, and they stand upright. Yeah? The only time they keel over is when you get an awful lot of insects, which did actually happen last time I had them outside, and they get so many insects in the pitcher, with the liquid that's in there it becomes top heavy and keels over, and they normally bend at that point and die. They can also rot if they get too full. Now, I don't know whether they've got any insects in here, even though I've had the door open. I don't even know if they've got any liquid in. I think they actually are empty. I don't think there's any liquid in there. So that must come from rain then, even though they've got a hood. Anyway, let's turn it round and I'll show you what I'm up to. Brought them all over here, including their drip trays, which are going to dribble all over the place. And the idea is to look for pitchers that didn't form properly or have flopped over. So, might look a bit harsh, but it's not going to do them any harm. So we're just tidying really. Dead ones, and ones that didn't form properly. I can go there for now. I'll put them in the dead leaf bag in a minute. So this one's died. So this one that we're looking at now was the only one I didn't repot this year. I repotted all the others into larger pots. See, now you see straight away that now looks like a nice plant. Yeah? And it's going to, because I need the room, it's going to have to go back over on the table where it lives. But these are nice pictures. They've got a nice pattern, nice colouring inside with the stripes. And this is cultivar Eva. I wonder if that's pronounced Eva. EVA anyway. They've all got names, these, I think. I think one's just hybrid, but there's one over here that doesn't need tidying. Believe it or not. In fact it does. I'm going to bring it over. It's got a couple of dead bits on it. But this is quite a nice strong upright grower, this one. But it's got a couple of pitchers that haven't formed very well down the bottom here. They haven't opened properly. There's one that's got a dead top there. As I said, this is just tidying them up to make them look nice, really. Yeah, that one's got a brown bit on it, so we'll snip it. Again, there's one with a brown tip there. Just goes down to there. And then another one there. I don't think this one needed any work, but it's just a little bit really. But this one tends to stay quite upright on its own. It doesn't need any help, and therefore needed very little tidying. And this is Bella. And again, it's she's got some mealybugs. It would help if they went inside, not outside. I wouldn't have expected these to have had bugs, but no, hang on, there's one hanging over there that I missed. Yeah, so again, this one has got a lot of pitchers that are probably not going to open. They need the sun, but it has got some that have opened okay. So you know, it's not doing bad. Right, next one. Just pulling these out one at a time. Now this is the one that produced these 2 flowers at the beginning of the year, and they're still there. Half of the flower dies. The little bits that hang out of these openings here do that. But the rest of the flower actually seems to stay on the plant for some time. I don't know whether... now these have got insects inside them. Well, they've got bits... No, they've actually got insects inside them. But if you look at the plant's got hardly any open pitchers. And the only decent one it's got has flopped. I wonder if I could tuck that behind that flower and it'll stay up. Yeah, there we go. But it's got some dead ones as well, ones that are going brown, and some that hang out sideways. But it's not got many open pitchers, hardly any at all. So an unusual one, this one. Now I don't know enough about these to know whether with this variety that's normal or not. But I do know that they could do with the sun on them, that I do know, and it's not happening. Problem is, the problem I've got is because they're in pots, if I put them outside, the wind blows them over. And because I don't necessarily go out in the garden, especially like if it's raining, they can stay blown over for quite a while. That's why I left them in this year, because that was causing me problems last year with them falling over, media falling out and everything. So yeah, this one's got the 2 flowers, it looks nice. But as you can see, we've got this one and this one are the only open pitchers, all the others are closed. They're just not opening. And maybe it still hasn't got a very good root system from the repot. So I don't know much about these. You just have to get on with it. They don't get fed. I'm not supposed to feed these, you know, in the soil. I'm supposed to feed themselves, but obviously they're not getting much food. The last lot of water I put in, because it's dawned on me, as I said, with the problems with the pH and the level of TDS on my RO water. I presume you saw the video with the new filters arriving. I'll probably fit them later today. Yes, basically the pH of my RO water has been coming out quite high. These are acidic, these are bog plants. So I've been pouring very alkaline water. Now I'm sure that's not doing them much good. So now when I pour water in, instead of just putting the water in the tray and letting them soak it up, for the next couple of waterings I'm going to pour the water through the pot to sort of give them a bit of a flush. But the water I'm going to use, I'm going to adjust the pH down. I'm going to get it down below 6. So basically I'll be flushing out that high pH value alkaline water over a few waterings. It floods the trays because it's difficult to judge. So be it, it just goes on the table and goes on the floor, and in this heat it evaporates. These are potted in 50% peat and 50% perlite, and yes, that is real peat. I got a bale of it from the carnivorous grower where these plants actually came from, and he's got special license to use peat as a commercial grower. I'm sure he's supposed to sell it, but I didn't ask. Anyway, that's that one tidied, the only one that flowered this year. Let's put that one back where it goes. Right, and the next one's more of a dwarf one, but as you can see, a hell of a lot of the pictures have just flopped over, so it looks awful, just looks a mess. So despite that meaning a lot of the pictures are coming off, many of which aren't open, it should just tidy it up, which is all I really want to do. If they're not flopped over too much, the fact that this one isn't very high, I might not go too mad. And there's all three of those have flopped over. Now when I repotted this one, there were quite a few plants. So this isn't just one or two plants, there's actually several in here. So they're not large plants, they're smaller plants, there's just more of them. So they're not perhaps as mature as some of the others. But this one is a much smaller version. Has this one got a name? It probably has. It is, oh, this is actually a species. This is Flava, and its variety Flava. Well, that's what it says. I'm reading out what it says, even though that sounds nonsense. But then I don't know anything about the naming procedures for these. I know what I do know on this one. The young pitchers are a lovely bronze colour. And there's several coming up now. Quite a few, in fact. They're going to be needed to replace all these ones I'm cutting off. But as I said, it's they keep getting tangled up, and they're not doing the plant any good. There's a dead one there. Right, that'll do for that little one. A lot of pitchers open on here. They're not very large. They're quite small, and they've virtually got no patterning on these. They're just a sort of nice green colour. I bet if they got some sun, they would also get some colour, because the sun does colour them up. That I do know. Right, so that's that little miniature done. Quite a lot coming off, as I said. I know it looks a bit harsh, but these aren't show plants or anything. Right, next one, and this one, probably some of these have gone through. This is cultivar Juthatip Soper. At least that's a proper name. Right, and these are large, leggy pitchers, and even though some of them are open, if they've flopped over, they're coming off. Because they keep getting tangled up. That's the problem, they tangle up with the plant next to them. Which just makes for a nuisance, basically. So any that are hanging over are coming off, even though it might not leave many. If it hasn't got enough, it'll probably think about growing some more. It's a pity. Some of these larger ones have flopped over, but I'll say they get leggy if they don't get the sun. We might have to think about getting them outside somehow. And I'd need to think of a way of them being able to stay in pots, because the alternative is to get a large tray and actually plant them in the tray. Get drainage holes, peat and perlite, space them all out nicely and actually plant them in a tray. And then they would be carryable as a tray. It would probably be quite heavy because it would have to stay wet. It would use a lot of RO water keeping it wet in this sort of weather. And I'm not sure they can stand that level of sunshine. I'd have to have a chat with the guy at Hampshire Carnivorous Plants to see what he's done with his, because he's got an awful lot planted outside. He has a lot planted in a bulb garden out in the field. It's got no cover at all, no shade and no shielding, just to see how his got on and whether he's run out of rainwater yet. I feel sorry for commercial growers of this type of thing. You know, they need the rainwater. Tap water's no good for these things. And the RO water that I've been using, now that I've discovered that there is a problem with it, which is fixable when I change the, I'm just getting some of these in, building up to quite a pile here. Yes, so once I get the new filters fixed, we'll go back down to a more sensible pH, and I'll just keep my eye on it. What I was doing was just putting some water in one of my glass dishes, and then just lowering the pH. Wasn't doing anything else to it, I was just getting the pH down around 6, 5.96, so that it's more acidic, and then just using that on them. That could show an improvement, who knows? As I said, I don't know much about these, apart from the fact that some of them have got very big and leggy, like this one. Right, and this is an enormous plant. The base is very large. It overhung the pot when I potted it up, as you can see. Yeah, it's overhanging the pot. Really filled the pot, this one. And there's some flower buds on it down the bottom there. You might be able to see that where my thumb is. There's a flower bud there. Whether that's actually going to bloom or whether it's one that from the start of the year that just didn't develop properly, which is more likely. But yeah, these, I'm reliably told that these need the sun on the base, and then they will grow stocky and sturdy, and that's what they're not getting. They're in good light, you know, they're in light that keeps them well, but not like they should be. And on this particular plant there's a couple of deformed ones, and that could be a reaction to that alkaline pH. There's a couple of ones that have died back, but not many. And this is another one that's got very few open pitchers. Very few. Still, that's what I've got. You know, as I say, I don't profess to know lots about these. They looked nice in the garden, but as I said, the wind kept blowing them over, and in some cases it blew the pots right out of the, because they were in a tray so that they could sit in the RO water or the rainwater. They had got rained on out there. They wouldn't have had much of that this year, would they? They'd have been waiting a long time, and still waiting. There's rumour there might be a bit of rain across this area next week. It'll be next to nothing, it won't even wet the ground. Unfortunately, with the level of rain we've had now, to do any good, I would suggest it would need to rain for a month. Good steady rain for a month. And I doubt if even that would fill the reservoirs back up to where they ought to be. Absolutely ridiculous, this drought. It's not natural for this country, that's the thing. It's all very well saying, oh, over here we don't get rain for 3 months. Yeah, but that's how it is over there. Over here it's not. This is very, very abnormal. If you live in the outback in Australia or Northern Territories, you don't get much rain, that's how it is. How could you tell if you had a drought? But here, drought is exceptional. Right, and the last one, sorry I'm not doing the names for all of these, but you probably wouldn't know what that meant anyway. What is this one? This is, well, this hasn't got a name, this is just what went into it. And it's Micheliana crossed with Lucophilia clone 1. So that's probably one of the hybrids that the guy at Hampshire Carnivorous Plants has bred himself, crossed himself, and he hasn't got round to registering it yet. You often get hybridizers of all sorts of plants, they produce the hybrid, but they need to wait to see if it's worth registering. And in the meantime, it just gets the name of the two elements that went into it. Orchid people do that as well. It's not just this sort of thing. I expect fuchsia people do it, and geraniums and Hoyas and anything else that people grow. But yeah, I mean, it's like when the mass producers of the Phalaenopsis in the EU, you know, they produce hybrids and they've got to get them to flower before they find out if they're any good. And if they're not very good, they just chuck them in the bin because they're not commercially viable. So if the flowers didn't turn out as expected, they dump them. And that cross won't get done again. And that happens a lot more often than you'd imagine. Now if you get somebody like Jim at Mathers, with his hybridizing of cymbidiums and the odonts and things like that, he's been doing that so long, he can glance at two flowers and almost predict what that's going to look like as a hybrid. And if it doesn't look viable, and the plants going into it haven't got the right traits that he's after, then he won't bother. You know, why waste time, as they say. Right, it's just that one. I'm going to leave it. It's got a picture that open, but I'm going to take that one off because it's all brown and spotty. And that's it. That's that little job done. I know it wasn't orchids, but I'll show you something else while we're on that table over at the side there. Now what's worrying me with this was having seen Alan's at our visit, the garden party, and he had a Pinguicula that looked like it probably came from the same place as mine, which was Mathers. This one keeps putting up flowers and they keep doing this. Because the flowers are gorgeous, but they keep flopping and bending. And the plants themselves don't look happy. And I think possibly the media's going off, which is these are another that need acidic soil. They need an acidic media. They also need to stay wet. They should stand in water in the growing season. But these aren't growing very well. The crowns of the plants are not showing much growth. I must remember not to touch them because they've got a real sticky substance all over them and it gets on your hands and of course it won't wipe off. So as a little aside, I'll do it as a separate video, but just to say it's coming, I'm actually going to repot this. I'm going to take them out and separate them because I noticed Alan had done one of his and he had like half a dozen nice little pots with one plant in each, because they grow plantlets round the base, so they push out little plantlets from the side so they clump up, but they need the conditions to be right to do that. Now if I'm going to do that with this, I need to get on with it while we've still got some heat. These are Mexican Pinguiculas which like to be warm all year round. If they're not at a suitable temperature through the winter, they will shut down and effectively they lose their leaves that feed. So the sticky hairy leaves stop working and they revert to a different type of leaf if they get too cold. They don't die, they just shut down. There's some flies on here. There's not many of the little fungus gnat things, those little annoying little black flies. They've got all of this grow room to fly in. They always seem to be just here, like where you're looking. You know, get out of it. They're very good at getting rid of those, but there aren't many around anymore because this has done a good job. But yeah, it's not happy. I think it needs to come out. Now one of the last ones that I had, it kept lifting out of the pot. The leaves were pushing it away from the media and it lost its roots and then died. And I couldn't see that because it was under the leaves. Now maybe something like that's going on now because this is quite a pot full. So I'll have to have a look round and see if I've got some small pots that are not clear pots. I don't want clear pots, just want some little black pots. I've got the peat, I've got the perlite, which is what they want. The other thing that you can do with Pinguiculas is you can use silver sand if you can get hold of it. I know where I could actually go and get some in the wild. But I would, you know, it's not something I would bother with. I can just use peat and perlite and they'll be perfectly happy in that. Right, so that's coming soon. But yeah, these flowers going like this. I don't mind an old flower dying, that's okay, but this is different. This is like some sort of wilt that's getting them, and it's frequent. They seem to come out, I mean, look, if you look at this one, I'll cut it off, that's a bud. That hasn't even opened. So that they're not happy, there's something going wrong. And the only way I can find out is get them out of the pot and see if they've got roots, try and get them potted up separately. So that'll be for another video, another time. So that's it for this one. There we go, clunk click. Has that dropped out of focus? Oh no, it's okay. It just took a while. Hope that's not a response to being pointed at the sun. It's getting a slow focus mechanism. It'll be more difficult to work with if it does. But yeah, so I don't know what the next proper orchid video is actually going to be. I don't want to start doing repotting and any of that type of work in this heat. Plants are stressed at the best of times during this sort of weather, and to add another stress level to some of them, that could be what they just keel over. So it's not worth the risk. You know, when I've probably only got to wait a week or two, well, hopefully not much longer. But the weather, the temperature's breaking. It's Friday today. Tomorrow and Sunday the temperatures are dropping down and will be lower next week. But quite honestly, until that jet stream shifts its whatnot, we're not going to get much change in the weather. The only thing that would change it, with the way the jet stream's sitting, the low pressures are staying in the top half and the high pressures are coming in underneath. And as long as the continent, the likes of France and Spain and Portugal, as long as they're hot, then we'll get the heat round that high pressure straight across us. So the only thing that can change is the jet stream moves, or the continent cools down, yeah, and they start getting cold fronts coming in, get rid of the heat. Oh, boy, do they need some rain as well. And bad news here is that fire in the New Forest is still not properly under control. And the A31, my main road east from here, the only decent road there is probably going to be closed for up to another week. The problem being, it's not safe for there's lots of areas that have got so hot and so burnt with the forest fire that the surface has been damaged, and they've got to resurface quite a bit of it. And until that fire is completely under control, it's too risky to get that type of machinery close to the edge of the road. So, you know, health and safety job again. So until they can resurface it, they won't reopen it, and they've said at least next Thursday. So we shall see. I bet just luck, just the sort of luck that we get with this flipping country, is that I bet at the point where the fire's under control and they say it's safe to resurface it, I bet it rains. Because they can't do that work in the rain, because the tarmac doesn't stick. It has to go on a dry surface. That'd be just typical, wouldn't it? They'll not be closed even longer. But the detour that I would have to take is about 25 miles. and it's all little A roads, including what can only be classed as a country lane for about 10 miles of it. And that's instead of a dual carriageway going straight to where I want to go. So, you know, that's my journeys east, completely messed up at the moment. And the diversion signs, the way they're taking people, are just causing huge traffic problems. Huge tailbacks, huge areas of static. I mean, the road north from where I am, because you can't go east, you go north to find a road that does go east to join up after this A31 problem, is an A road. There's no dual carriageway on it, it's an A road, and it comes off into Fording Bridge. It comes off at a T-junction. So you haven't even got right of way, and you've got to turn right to go east, which means both lanes have got to be clear for you to turn right. That's just causing chaos. And it's stop-go traffic at peak times on that little lane that goes across the road that heads east. And the other alternative, the other road through the forest, is the A35, and unfortunately that goes to Lyndhurst. That's a traffic issue when there aren't any problems in the summertime because of the holiday makers. So that's got about a 4-mile tailback to get in to the town. That would be my other route, should I choose to do that. And then you get through the town and out the other side, and then you join another big queue to get on to the you know, the bit of the motorway that's actually open to go east. So it's just chaos. That's all because of that vehicle fire on the side of the road, and everything is so tinder dry. It caught before the fire services could get there to contain it. It had already whooshed away from the road from this van fire, and that was on Sunday. You know, we're heading into the second weekend. They're still there. There's about 130 firefighters there. I think it was 10 fire trucks plus their control vehicles, you know, where a guy sits there on the radio going left a bit, right a bit, can you put some water on that bit? You have to have a control vehicle. You know, I'm being cynical, they do a grand job, I'm sure. And would you want to be out in this heat fighting a fire in the protective gear that they have to wear so that they don't get burnt? It'd be like having a big ski anorak on in full sun. Not nice. So they do a wonderful job. We should be grateful. But they still haven't got it under control. Do you know, I think I've seen a bit of a problem with how they try and handle that type of fire. It's not a house on fire, it's not a warehouse, it's ground. And they get these flipping great hoses on full blast and go whoosh. And they kick everything up and it flies all over the place. Well, wouldn't it be better to use a spray type mechanism so that you cover a larger area and don't blast the ground up in the air? You know, I mean, those hoses can dig a hole, they're so powerful. You know, maybe they should look at another way of actually tackling that sort of fire. Maybe, but then I'm no expert. Anyway, that'll do. Rambling again like what I does. And I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, on the other channel, sometime today, it's processing at the moment, I left the camera running on the bird feeders for a while. Well, I've sort of edited out the highlights of what was nearly an hour-long video. It's now about 15 minutes long, showing the different types of birds that came on. That is on the other channel sometime today if you're interested in doing that. It's just a static camera looking at the bird feeder, flitting, you know, they're flitting around, coming in, having a drink, having a peck, and doing all that sort of stuff, set to some music. You know, if you fancy that sort of thing. It's very relaxing, that type of video, I must admit. I fell asleep making it. See you next time. Bye for now.